Hi, this is Derek Murphy from creativeindia.com. My friend just sent me this manuscript, which is what he's launching next week for his book, and I wanted to. I asked him to send it to me because I like to do editing, and I usually look for kind of like more big picture story problems because that's the stuff that's really gonna make a book successful or not. And even though it's launching next week, there's you always want to do everything you can to make the best story you can. So he sent me the Word document, which has been formatted for print. This is kind of like his print-ready version. However, I noticed some things that that I would have done differently if I was formatting a book. So I'll go through and fix the book, doing the things that I would have done if I was formatting it for print, so that authors or anybody who's interested in learning how to format more professionally in Microsoft Word and make books for print can figure out some of the things that I'm doing differently. So this is just the title page. He's got the font, the title, the main body font's Times New Roman, which is something I'll probably change. Times looks fine, but it's kind of basic. I prefer more professional fonts. This I would move down, get more space. I'd probably make this a little bit bigger. Oops. And then I'm also going to work on the margins pretty quickly. So if you scroll, oops. So what happens is because I changed the font of that one, everything else got bigger too because it's all set with the same style. So I'm actually going to have to undo that change until I undo all these styles. So I'll leave that how it is for now and come back to it later. Up here, you've already got the headings showing in the front matters, which I'm going to take away. This is a nice full page image, which has been done more with young adult books, so I like that, and I'll leave that. On the first page of the chapters, you don't want a chapter heading like this. And then there's these, the margins are, there's a gutter on this side, which is just, if you look at it, let's see. If I look at it this way with two pages, the outside margin is, well, it should be the inside margin is a lot bigger. So this is the gutter. There's a bigger margin because this is going to go into the spine, and this is the outside margin. So the headings are aligned kind of to the right, and this would be the outside margin. So these pages are kind of, they'd make more sense if they were switched, but you just have to keep in mind how everything's working together. But actually, I'm going to change these margins a little bit. The way that he did it, if I go up here to page layout, margins. So he set the outside margin to be smaller than the inside margin as a way to do the gutter. I would just leave the gutter and leave these the same. And you can make this a little bit bigger, but I wouldn't make it very much bigger. I think it doesn't need to be so big, and I'll just make sure I apply this to the whole document. So that's a small change, and I'll have to move this a little bit so it fits again. So now you can see you still have a bigger margin for the gutter, which is nice actually, because when you're formatting, you kind of have to look and keep track of what's on the inside and what's on the outside of the pages. So having a little bit of a difference makes that easy to see. Otherwise, it's easy to get confused and you're not sure if these are really where they should be. So the other problem that I want to fix right now is that Hews Tabs going through. These are all tabs for indents, and you actually want to get rid of all of those and set the style for the paragraph to have an indent. So to find and change all of those, I go to Home and I can go to Find and Replace, and I do this, which is it's Shift 6, but that makes a little triangle, and then T, that's the symbol for tab, and I'll just replace it with nothing. I'll put nothing in this box. So I replace 287 of those, and so now this is all aligned to the left. So now you'll, and see, this is the normal, whoops, this is a normal paragraph style, and this is normal, and we want to make those special paragraph styles for first paragraph and the rest of the paragraphs. So I'll take this normal. It's also probably going to mess things up because probably some of this other stuff is normal too. So once I start if I just change the normal setting, it's going to mess things up. I'm going to do it anyway, because otherwise what would happen is, that's kind of weird that some of these are indented and some aren't. I'll worry about that later. So if I just change the normal style, let's say I just make it bigger, that's also going to affect everything else that's the normal style, but it'll be faster for me to just fix the things that need fixing. If I just change this to a special new style, let me put that back. So I'm going to go up here to line spacing options and change the indentation to 0.2, which looks like that. That's probably enough. I could do 0.3. Before, though, with the tabs, it was like 0.5, and that was too much. I might go with 0.3. So it looks like that, and that's fine. If I right-click and update the normal style, it's going to mess up everything that's the normal style. So the other option that I could do is save selection as a new quick style, but then I would have to highlight all the paragraphs that I want to use as this style throughout the book, and that would take quite a long time. That's really what I should do if I was formatting it from scratch, because you don't want to just use a normal style. You want to make new styles for what you're doing, and then all you would really do is you basically start with the body text, and I would do everything as the new style first, and then I just go back and make a new style for the first paragraphs, and then I only have, like 28 chapters, so that's 28 times you do that. But I'm going to update the normal style because it's faster this time. And it looks like it also added some space after the paragraph, which is too bad. Let me look why. It's not showing a spacing before or after, so that's kind of strange. If I highlight all this stuff and go to normal, then it'll fix it. So I may have to actually go through and highlight this stuff anyway and just click the normal style to get rid of any weird spacing issues. And then also see, like down here, this was normal, so that messed up these. And because the normal has that indent, so anything that I wanted to be centered is not going to be centered. Even if I center it, it's still not going to be centered because it has an indent. So I need to change and make a new style. I really want to make a new style for the footings and the headers and everything. But I'll go through kind of slowly. So I also want to check. It looks like this also messed up. This had a cool line before. Let me go back so you can see. And I actually liked that line, and it messed up that line for some reason. Maybe that part of that was normal style too. So let me see if I try the other option, if it makes it any better. So if I indent this and save it as a new style, body text. So I've done that and it didn't mess all this stuff up, so I'm still going to have to highlight everything I want to be in the body and click body text, but at least it won't change anything else, so that's probably the fastest and easiest way to do it. I'll just do a couple chapters so you can see how I'm doing it, and then I'll go back. The other thing is, let me go back and check that again. I just wanted to see that I was seeing what it originally looked like. I would probably make this one a little bit bigger, just for fun. I don't know. But the other thing I want to do is check the spacing, because what he's done is he's added basically hard returns here to get down here. And instead of doing that, this is the heading 1 space. Oh, actually, this probably isn't going to work because what you'd want to do is go to line space options, and before your heading 1s, I'd add the space. That kind of works. So I'll do it that way. And I need to add a little bit more. All this means is that you're always going to have exactly the same space to the beginning of your heading 1s. And it's going to be really uniform, and it's going to be a lot easier than like making sure they're all the same. That's a little bit too much. And also you want your body text to start about halfway down the page. So another problem down here, I might have done that. Oops. But I want this to be a little bit lower. Footer from the bottom. Kind of like that. So I mess up a little bit, but that's a little bit better. For the footers, it's a little bit low to the bottom of the page, but that way I get more text. And this column looks really tall and narrow, so I probably have too much margin over here. You want about 250 to 300 words per page. So if I highlight this much, I've got 237 words, so I could actually use a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to my margins. And these are a little bit too big, so I'll set them to 0.265. Doesn't really change very much, but now it's 249. It's a little bit better. My final word count, or my page count, is 296 pages. You want your book to be around 250 or 300 pages. I think that's a good width, unless it's something like a fantasy where you might want something heavier, like 500 pages, but those are usually much longer books. You don't want it too thin or flimsy. So this is looking fine, and if I click through here, I can see that the spacing is pretty good. I still have this problem because I need to go through and highlight all of these and click my new style, which is body text, to make sure I'm getting that style right. And actually, I wouldn't use Times New Roman. I would use, let me play with it for just a second. I would use something like Sivan. Sivan's one of my favorites. It looks pretty good in print, but you could use Garamond Premiere Pro. I've got a lot of, on DIYBookFormats.com, I have a big list of free and paid fonts that are great for book formatting. And then I would also change the spacing a little bit. It's 1.15. I'd probably space it to 1.25 or 1.3, which looks like that. So, I mean, Sivan is something I like. I might leave it for Times New Roman for right now because it's easier, and I'll focus on the other things I need to fix. But eventually I might change that font. I will change the spacing though. Oops. And so the other thing we need to do is change the first paragraph option. And all I really want to do is, I could probably just change the line space options to make sure they're the same, and then check the indentation. There's no indentation here, but I'd have to save this as a new style. First paragraph. And the problem is going to be the problem is going to be is that it changes everything to the same font, which is a problem because I have these words in Bureau Agency 14, a little bit bigger. So that's not going to work. It's going to take some time, but I'm going to have to, I could just go through, since this is already like half formatted, I could go through and just change the line space option to 1.25 to match, and have to do that on every paragraph. Or I'd save it as a new style, and then I'd have to redo this part, which is you can't really save a style for the first sentence. Often has like all caps or a different font for style. And actually, the other thing that I would do, oops. Oh, I see. I changed this spacing, but I don't think I updated the heading 1 style. Seems like that didn't work, but it might be because I need to, it's a little hard too with this picture here, but I need to add a page break. Yeah, so if I do that, I messed up with I got rid of that line again. I want to keep that line. So it's something I'll work on later. I'll skip to another thing. So basically, you'd want to make a new style for the first paragraphs and a new style for the body paragraphs, and then just use those styles throughout when you're formatting. And then you'd want to use a style for the heading and build in the space. I would want to put more space between here actually too, so I would move this one up a little bit. Maybe like that. And then this first paragraph style, I would give it some more space above it, or I could take this heading, it keeps getting reset. Let's see. I could put some space after the heading. Oh, so if I do that, this is going to push this down, and I don't want to do it that way. But normally you just have one thing. Like right now, these are all heading 1s. Normally you just pick one thing to be your heading 1, and this would be like this, the subtitle, or this would be another style. Then below the style, you could add a spacing below the style to push this down a little bit. Or if this is a first paragraph style, you could add some line spacing before it to push it down a little bit. You want to figure that stuff out first, so that once you've got it, you can just apply those styles throughout the book. And then if you want to change something, you just update the style on the first paragraph, and all the other chapters will be automatically updated. So that's why you want to format this way with styles. It's a lot easier and saves time. But the other thing I want to do is get rid of these headings on the beginning pages, because you don't want them there. So I'll start here. This one I want to keep, so I'll delete the link to previous. That way when I delete this other stuff, this one will stay. And then this is the first page after a break, so I want to put different first page. If I click this box, I can make this page different. So now this page is clean. It doesn't have a page number or a heading. You can have page numbers on the chapter pages, but you usually don't have headings. And it's fine if you don't have page numbers. So I'm just going to leave that page number off. It's cleaner, looks pretty nice. But then there are headings that start here. And so I can go through and I can delete these, and it doesn't affect the rest of the book. Then I want to make this smaller. And the other thing you see in print books is that down at the bottom of the title page, you have a bunch of numbers. Which look like this: 10, 9. And all that means is this is the print edition. So the first book, the first edition, you have 10 through 1. And then if you're printing it again as a reprint, you would get rid of this 1, and it would just go till 2. You can research that if you're interested, but to make it look like a real traditional book, you can just be aware that most of them will have these numbers on the title page, so you want to have them too. Like I said, I would style this page a little bit more. I'd probably change the author name to match the cover. He has a really nice cover for this book, so you want to make sure all the fonts match. This looks like it got a little messed up. Probably when I was formatting, the page numbers got messed up. I can update the page numbers. I can update the entire table. That looks better. But then it's taken, because I've used, or because he's used the heading tags for both this and this, they're all going to show up in the chapter contents, which is not really what you want. You'd really want them to be all together. So what I could do is just, let's see if this will work. Probably not. I would probably want to change one of these so that they're not heading tags, and then they wouldn't show up here, and then they wouldn't show up in the table of contents, because otherwise you have to go through the table of contents and edit it manually. Plus here you're going to get like double the page numbers. So if I was editing this manually, I'd have to go through and do something like this and type 1 and then do that for every one, and then that's not really a good idea, because if I do some more editing, the page numbers change, and I go to update table, it might screw everything up again. So you don't want to like manually format things. You want to do everything with style so that it's easy. But that's something else I'll do later. So that's basically what I would do to fix this. It'll take me maybe like 15 minutes to go through and get everything right. And I'll put the book title here. Usually books have the title and the author name. And so if I've done this well, I can scroll down. This is a first page. It looks like there's no chapter break on that one. Because it already has different first page. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go page layout breaks next page. That's something you're going to have to do with every chapter. And then, like I said, if possible, I don't know if I can do this easily because of the way it's been formatted. It looks like if I do heading 1, I'll get rid of that line, which I don't want to do. So because of that line, there's not an easy way to go through and change the style. I'll have to figure out where the style for that line is coming from so that I can change it. Because if you've done it right, you can just update the heading 1 and every chapter should look just like this. Oops. But because I put that space, so it's going to kind of mess everything up because there's two things with heading 1. So what I'm probably going to have to do is get rid of this one, make it a new style. Say selection is new quick style, subheading. So if I do that, yeah, anyway, that might take a little bit more time and work to finish up to figure out. But on all your chapters, you want to have a section break, and then you want this to space correctly. So down here too, I'm going to have to go here and do page layout break. That one worked. I wonder why the other one didn't work. So these are all because they're new pages of a new section. That's why when I go up here, it has different first page, so it doesn't show the chapter titles up there. So basically, I'll just go through and do that for every chapter. This one's a little bit weird. I'd probably just delete the space here so this shows up here, and then do a page break. You also want to be careful if you do a page break, your last sentence might look like this because it's aligning. So you need to hit enter to return. That's something that gets screwed up pretty easily. So you want to check the end of your chapters to make sure that isn't happening. Otherwise, this is working pretty well, except, like I said, I forgot all of this stuff, your main body text. Because I changed the style, I need to go up and hit my body text style. And then I'm just leaving my chapters alone, but because I added more style here, I need to add line spacing options. I think I put it at 2.5. And then I need to fix this spacing so there's more space here. So there's a few more things I still need to do and figure out. If you're doing this all in one go, it'd be faster, and you just start off, like you start off with your body text, and you start off with your heading styles. Make sure you have your navigation plane on so you can kind of see how your table of contents is going to look. So you'd really want these to be one entry so that it shows like chapter 2 something. But I'll probably just have to clean this up later. I'm going to stop this video. That's kind of all you need to do. I'll need to go through and do it for every chapter. But if you're doing your styles right, you just do the body text, and then you do the first paragraph, and then you'd do the last stuff, like do these all caps, because every time you change the style or set this style, it would change these. So these you really want to do last. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'll post this on a couple sites in case you have questions about formatting. Formatting in Word is kind of tricky, but it's worth it to do it right, because then when you make changes in the future, everything is so much easier and automatic. Okay, thanks. Let's see.